I'm here to talk to you today about the budget for Child Protective Services, and the details are in my written testimony, but I want to give you a big picture view of what this proposed budget does, because you've heard a lot of different pieces. It essentially cuts prevention and family services, which takes kids who could have stayed safe in their own homes or with relatives and funnels them into foster care. Then it traps them there by cutting off support for adoption subsidies, and adoption is the main way that kids get out of foster care and into a permanent home. And if that isn't bad enough, it then cuts the amount of money that is paid to foster care providers and cuts rates so that the homes that these kids have been forced into don't have the resources that they need to provide adequate care to these kids, leading to substandard homes, if the homes even exist at all, which is going to lead us back to the time when kids were sleeping in caseworkers' offices. That's assuming, of course, that their caseworker wasn't one of the ones that DFPS had to cut. And I want to talk a little bit about money, and I'm not going to get into the specific figures. They're in my testimony. And basically, other people who have testified have already established that it's much more expensive to keep a kid in foster care versus getting them adopted. And it's much more expensive to keep a kid in foster care versus having them go with the relative caregiver program and the daycare. And it's much more expensive to keep a kid in foster care versus keeping a kid in their own home. But there's a couple of points that I want to highlight. With respect to the adoption subsidies, you're not only going to have the additional $41 million in increased foster care costs. Texas is going to lose the $11 million that Ms. Millard talked about as underlying the budget. One of the assumptions of the budget is that Texas would get $11 million in adoption incentive payments. That is a federal payment given to states when they increase the number of adoptions over a baseline level. If you cut adoption subsidies, there aren't going to be an increase in adoptions. You're going to get a fall in adoptions, and if adoptions drop below 2007, the state does not get that $11 million. So you're going to have, so really the true cost of that is $51 million by cutting adoption subsidies. The other issue that I want to highlight is Ms. Millard talked about the relative caregiver program being a small program. In 2010, it served over 10,000 children. To me, that's not a small program. It's not often that you get to do what's right for kids and what's right for Texas's bottom line, but this is your chance. You can fund CPS and give them what they need to give kids the care they deserve for 3 cents of every dollar in the rainy day fund. 3 cents. If it was your own kid, you would spend every penny in your rainy day fund or savings account. You would get a second or third job and do whatever you needed to do to make sure that your kid was safe and that they had the care that they deserved. The abused and neglected kids who the state is responsible for deserve no less.
Thank you.